Greetings, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're very, very happy to have you here. We're going to be discussing about the pulp and paper industry today. Our theme for today is good on paper and great in reality. Uh, the key takeaway out of this webinar is for process manufacturers like you to understand how you can improve your operational excellence and overcome the hurdles and challenges that you face. Few quick instructions before we begin. All the attendees are going to be on listen only mode. If you have any questions, there is a Q&A tab on the screen. Feel free to type in your question and we'll address everything at the end of the session. After the webinar, you will also receive a copy of the presentation. And so let's begin. Our agenda for today is we'll give you a quick introduction of the speakers and a quick introduction about us, who we are. And then we have our speaker, Mr. Govindraj, who will be talking about the industry in general, the overview, the challenges that this industry faces, and how analytics can help the pulp and paper industry to overcome these challenges. We have Viresh, who will be talking about the business benefits, the case studies, and discuss case studies with you. And then we move on to the Q&A session. Just a quick introduction. Our first speaker for today is Mr. Govindraj. He's the head of operational excellence at JK Paper Limited. He comes with a massive 25 years of experience in manufacturing excellence. He has been a part of various prestigious organizations across different industries like mining, like steel, pulp and paper, of course. And we're very, very happy to have you here today. Thank you for joining us, sir. Our next speaker for today is Mr. Viresh. Viresh heads the manufacturing analytics practice at Würth IT India. He also comes with 25 years of experience, half of which he has spent in manufacturing and the other half in automation, thus enabling him to bring immense functional expertise on the table. We're very happy to have you with us, Viresh.
Thank you.
I, Nikita Jural, will be your moderator for today, and I head the marketing function at Würth IT India. To give you a quick introduction about us, who we are, we belong to the Würth Group of Germany, based out of Künzelsau, Germany. It's a 14.41 billion euro turnover company, and we have diverse business lines and spread across 400 companies in more than 80 plus countries. We stand strong with 79,000 plus employees and have a diverse line of business. Moving on, we are Würth IT India, the IT arm of the Würth Group. It was established around in early 1980s with the sole intention of serving the internal group customers, eventually building up and moving on to addressing and acquiring external business and customers as well. Würth IT India is based out of Pune, and we stand strong with more than 1,000 professionals under our wing, with more than 150 plus in revenues, and with a very diverse portfolio of services. We are a digital transformation company dealing in rapid application development, SAP, and on the digital front, we deal with data aggregation, with IoT, and also utilizing plant data for analytics. I would like to call my fellow speaker, Mr. Govindraj, on the podium now. Sir, all yours.
Thank you, Ms. Nikita. I hope I'm audible, clear?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. JK Paper is a part of JK organization, a $4 billion company, having major interest in cement, tire, agro seeds, in addition to paper. We are operating in 6 continents. JK Paper has a rich experience of about 75 years and produces packaging board, coated and uncoated papers. We have 3 operating locations, widely spread in India, to cover the very niche market. We are operating from Gujarat, Orissa, Telangana. While the pandemic actually pushing every businesses into backseat, in the last year, JK Paper team showed the resilience to increase the utilization of our machineries through strong focus on people, of bringing the new product to service to the market, capture the opportunities and drive performance. We also have relentless focus on reducing cost, enriching product mix, and serving the customer in a better ways and means. As a company, we enjoy the benefit of having the raw material received from nearby locations. Say, our plantation team has strong focus in planting the requirements for maybe within the 200 kilometers of our operations. In fact, in the last 600 million saplings have been planted, more than 13,000 hectares additional areas in the last year alone. Next, please. While we talk about Industry 4.0, it's not only in the manufacturing, but the Industry 4.0 application, multiple keys of businesses, starting from automotive, healthcare, you name any industry, including the service industries, the application of Industry 4.1 actually significantly transforming the way the business houses are conducting the business in delivering the product and services to the market. In order to stay competitive, these days, manufacturers to move from the legacy system, leverage digital technologies, and to be more agile and efficient. And all the industry players investing heavily into connecting various processes more visible and take the business advantage of the connected world. And so, JK, we identified this opportunity and try to identify where and all we can use this analytic approach to improve our business processes. Can we see the next slide, please? Just before getting into the detail of JK approach, I just want to take a minute to talk about the pulp and paper industry. With a mere CAGR growth rate of 0.8%, the global pulp and paper market size was valued at $348 in 2019. That is projected to reach up to $368 billion by 2027. Yeah, the growth rate is very limited. But with the increase in e-commerce explosion in countries like Brazil, China, and India, we are able to see huge demand for the lightweight packing material, which is eventually convenient for logistics. We are also seeing the huge demand in this period in the packaging board, corrugated boxes, and toilet paper. In India, the story is different. We are able to see the CAGR rate of about 7.8% from 8.6 billion market in 2018 to $13.4 billion in 24. Yeah, you heard it right. So India has a huge potential for the Indian pulp and paper industry to serve. While we are standing at 14 kg per capita consumption of paper in India, wherein the global average is of about 57 kgs, which is considerably low. And actually, in North America, there used to be of about 200 kgs per capita. Next, please. So we are having a huge potential to serve the market, and therefore, using the analytical tools and techniques, how do we create more value for the business? So in fact, there are 6 areas which our team could able to identify and have an early success of few. And there are multiple projects are on ground. So I'm going to talk about very few elements of each area. Plantation, research and development, the pulp mill recovery and utilities, the paper machine where we use production planning and scheduling, converting and finishing area, and area of predictive maintenance. We have huge opportunities in each and every area. At JK Paper, we have a state-of-the-art plant at one side of the plant. We also have the legacy of carrying about 75 years of operation, and therefore in some of the machines are as old as 45 years. And therefore, it's equivalent for us to build the competency and the focus in the people to convert each and every equipment to give the better reliability for its operation. First, I'm going to pitch on with the production area. We have multiple varieties of raw material being used in pulp mill, like casuarina, eucalyptus, and bamboo and tan. So we have the complete farmers are taking up the harvesting process, starting from saplings to plantation to the harvesting process, digital. So while we talk about only 200 kilometers around the our operations, where we get the raw material from, but we have wide varieties of qualities and yield and the aging of the life of the harvesting materials. So and therefore it's important for us to digitally keep the information available for the field workers selectively harvest for the better benefit of having the material on the mill side at the left. There are we are exploring the satellite imagery services and drones application for monitoring these processes. Next, please. Recovery area. It's very important for us to get quality pulp with a better brightness and viscosity and lower fine fractions. So as we increase the complexity by adding more and more varieties of logs, the wood logs with various aging and I know received from various locations coming from different seasonality. The characteristic of the pulp also differs. So while keeping all the information digitally ready, and therefore we could able to have better optimization of cycle time digesters is one of the key projects which are working. There is another big opportunity in the industry, which is of having the better utility balancing. In the pulp mill, in the integrated pulp mills, we don't have the cooperation. So we used to meet the demand for the pulp and paper industry to run the energy demand coming from the boilers. At the same time, we also get the steam from the recovery boilers. You know, how do we balance while having the multiple machines drawing the steam, other energy requirements at various periods with varying quantities? So there becomes another big opportunity area for analytics to pitch in. Next, please. The production planning and scheduling is another big area. In Indian market, we do have very small size volumes also being serviced in the markets. So we do take care of those serving small as well. And therefore, decal optimization, collecting those small serviceable customers is another important element. It's not only for the decal optimization. The decal optimization is there in the pulp and paper industry for quite some time. So it's not something new we talk about. But it's not only the trim optimization, but how simultaneously optimize multiple KPIs, including the sheet utilization for the better order fill with no higher levels of inventory being maintained. And how do we reduce the setup times in the rewind sheeters? So there is ample opportunities. Are we moving away from the linear programming to global optimizations? So there are some work is being done by our organization in this area. We also have a single machine producing multiple grades and GSM of products. So in a single machine, we produce almost about 30 qualities. So it's almost important for us to have the minimum quality change over time to service to the customers. At the same time, maximum time available for the good production. So with the better sales forecasting, using the tools like planning and scheduling, we should be in position to reduce the quality change over time as well. Next, please. The stock preparation area. Also, we have an ample opportunity. While we are in a state-of-the-art technology and caliper control in some of the machines, in some machines we do have seeing this opportunity wherein we are able to have a control over GSM losses. There is another opportunity we could able to see the area of chemical consumption. While you are having a variety of manufacturing capabilities, and we should have the very final control of chemical applications. And using the analytics at the back end, given quality of pulp and other characteristics, what the customer wants, the back-end support can come from analytics. Next, please. This is one of the area where we are able to see a huge opportunity again. With various pulp mills and paper machines do have various lines of converting. At a single point in time, we also see the overall equipment effectiveness, how the machines are being operated. In order to improve its utilization, we need to have a better monitoring and control, and therefore there is an opportunity. There is individual machine connected, and the big data can give you a lot of insights. There is another area we are looking into, that is on transport optimization. While planning for the dispatches, how we wanted to load our reels and bundles in a single truck to meet the customers with a single touch, and therefore not multiple touches, and therefore it is avoiding the future damages. So these are the areas I thought to just talk from the manufacturing point of view. While with the world of pulp and paper industry is very old, we are able to see only about 20 to 30% of the mills are having the state-of-the-art technologies. Those do have the industry 4.0 connectivity related along with the machines. But the rest 70% still are in the old legacy systems. As the even in JK, we are having about the equipment which is of 45, 50 years old, and therefore the cost of its maintenance becoming an important element. Next slide, please. This brings the topic of maintenance. While aging and deterioration taking place, the cost of maintenance going higher and higher, it's all the more important for us to bring in the predictive maintenance tools and techniques in order to have a better asset care. With this brief intro of the various areas, I would like to bring the top challenges for the industry. While we saw the raw material acquisition and various resources management are the two critical and the biggest challenges in the industry. There are ample opportunities with the analytics support. We are able to bring value to the business. We are seeing certain initial benefits already. Big challenge is on maintaining the consistency in our delivery. As a customer, I would always like to get quality, the right price, the right time. And therefore, having this, as a Zale organization, we have to build the capabilities to deliver. So this becomes an important challenge. And the third is increased demand. Some organizations are already investing in bringing the new capacities. At the same time, all the other assets are put into stress. In order to improve the productivity, we need to also have interruption-free operations. So the higher the variability is bad for quality. So all the more important, we work with the right partners to help us in bringing the visibility to the processes and create a new value for the organization. And we were working with both in the earlier past and current. There were also GSM related projects we are working with both. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share some of the key challenges in the industry in this forum. I like Mr. Veeresh to take on the next set of processes.
Thank you, Mr. Govindraj. Indeed, it was a very, very insightful session. And we pass on the baton to Mr. Veeresh. Veeresh, the podium is all yours.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Govindraj. Thank you, Nikita. I hope I am audible. And I think, Mr. Nikita, you should stop sharing, I guess, so that I can share my screen. Yeah, I assume you are able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Sure. So once again, thank you, Mr. Govindraj, and we'll try to address at least two of those key challenge areas where one of them we are already working with you. Of course, the resource management is very strategic and core to the paper process, that really relies upon the organization, how they want to cultivate their resources. So at least on the two other challenges, we'll try to address, how technology can help. So, we usually like to keep this particular slide, which actually starts with, what are the world-class manufacturing initiatives that the pulp and paper manufacturers take, and how does it impact the global optima versus the local optima. As most of us are into the operational excellence and manufacturing excellence field, we definitely remember Eli Goldratt, who talks about illusion in the local optima in his book Theory of Constraints. So building on that, right? So there are multiple decisions that are made on the global perspective to actually get more business benefits. So here, what we see over here is, the multiple initiatives like we take on a global level for cost savings and value addition by adding new processes and modernizing the equipment. Of course, it creates a lot of impact, no doubt about it, with respect to all these business benefits. What it does impact is on the ground level, which we call it as the local optima, where the efficiencies are tweaked. So, and we all know that the operations team are still expected to get the same efficiencies before we did all these modifications. That is where we feel that technology could come in, by utilizing the plant data information, how we could provide value, and more importantly with no capex, which Mr. Govindraj also touched upon. So how does this help? We all know that there is humongous amount of data that is already available in the plants. So how we can utilize that information? How we can correlate that information with the production data, plus correlating with the quality information, process information versus the controller information, and this gives us a lot of data as a core to analytics and create value. And we as an organization have developed a tool which will create, which will get insights from all this information using scientific based algorithms, machine learning models, and provide value. So in this presentation, we would also like to touch upon, what is the overall process, and also give visibility on a few case studies as well using the technology, how we would resolve some of the challenges. So we would start with the typical plant automation landscape, right? So bare minimum, we always have SCADA systems. I'm considering the legacy plants, which are older plants, which Mr. Govindraj touched about, 40, 45-year-old plants, etc. At least on a bare minimum, they would have SCADA. And we have seen that most of the plants have DCS systems, and they are able to manage. They also included the energy management systems. We know that it's very energy intensive industry. So most of us have the captive power plants internally, or we have captive power source coming in. So we have also seen that the power plants are a bit segregated from the core process unit, and they have their own systems, and seldom they talk to the process systems, only if they have a concept called a central control room. And we also see a lot of analysis being done on vibration. There are lab information management systems, quality management systems. There are maintenance management systems. We also seen some of the thermoscientific SRFs, which actually are utilized to monitor and measure the amount of CO2 emission that is being done. And of course, at the higher level, we have come across modern plants which have implemented higher level controllers. And it can be physiologic or MPCs, etc. So those also are into picture where specifically to the modern plants. And few plants that we have seen, they have also implemented the TIS systems, which integrates with the plant systems plus the ERP, and try to provide more value within the plant environment. And where we come from is, if we are looking at all these systems, including the vision systems, gone are the days where we were only looking at the cameras and then who comes in, who goes out. But using the camera data, vision data, there are many product companies which have come up with analysis that a simple analysis that we have seen is based on the cap color, red, yellow, white, etc. We are able to do the analysis on whether those people are designated to be there or they should not be. So that this is on a safety perspective, so that we get more visibility. So there are vision systems as well. But so in a nutshell, with this kind of whole landscape, right, we are able to, plants are able to churn out a lot of data, which we know that they are rarely utilized. So here we come and we look at all this information, right? So what this pyramid talks about is, if I go top the pyramid, it is more or less the systems which have some kind of a manual interface, be it TQMs and MIS and then ERPs of the world, which are utilized by the higher ups. And here, they would like to measure the performance in key KPIs. If I go to the HO, which has multiple plants like JK Paper, the HO or headquarters would measure in more than 5 parameters. So here we come. The value that is missed over here is the data that is in microsecond and a second level data. So this is a kind of a gold mine with respect to looking at very minor variations that happen in the process, and then how we could address those. This is where we come in, and technology actually helps over here in terms of collecting that data and doing analytics on top of that information. So how do we do the overall process? So we have an algorithm-based software product tool, and what it does is it collects the information within the process. We not only look at the control level analysis, but we also look at external analysis. Either the issues might be in an upstream or a downstream process. Also looking at mechanical perspective, whether the systems like dampers, valves, are they performing fine, because this data is already available in the DCS. We also look at sensor level information as well. Is our sensor performing fine? So all these data put together, right, with various dimensions, we are able to reduce the variations in the overall process. So here is a classical example. We have this particular set point, and we are touching the alarm limit, and then alarm limit is fine. But when it touches the safety limit, and we all know that it goes into a lot of audit aspects. So with the higher variations, the controls engineers have less amount of margin to do any optimization over here. Here we come. We with our tool, we immediately provide value in terms of reducing the fluctuations and variation, which provides better margin for the controls room operators, as well as if the plants have invested in systems like high level controllers or advanced process controllers, etc. So those controllers would also be functioning fine. So, because they also get more margins to operate. So, we come in, we reduce the variations. We not only do the analytics and do the root cause identification as well, but we also work with the plant team to implement the recommendations. So that's the kind of expertise that we bring to the table. Now, how do we execute this? Multiple ways. As we saw that, the plants are equipped with the DCS, SCADA, historians, and we prefer to look at the data in a seconds level format. At least between, in rare cases, of course, we love seconds level data, but up to 5 seconds or 7 seconds, the 10 seconds data is also kind of acceptable. So we would look at, integrating our edge gateway with communication protocols of OPC UA or DA, which might be available. If not, we can go the manual route with respect to getting the data in an Excel sheet or a CSV and then do the analytics. So once we start providing the value, manufacturers usually come to us on multiple other value additions, where they also want us to map the data with the line of business applications like ERP systems, maintenance systems, quality systems. So having that provides you tremendous value. And once the analytics is done, we can also pass the information back to the plant team so that they can take actions immediately. So that is also possible. In my last slide, you might have seen that we talk no capex is something that we heavily endorse, and the beauty of the technology would be you don't need to upgrade any equipment or buy new sensors or equipment. So with whatever we have, we try to optimize in the same scenarios. So here it's a very bold statement that we make is the payback period, right? So whenever organizations actually engage with us, they always ask what will be my payback period. So we claim that once the organization engages, the payback period would be anywhere between 3 to 12 months on what the kind of scope that we are actually addressing. We'll touch upon a few case studies, but I'd like to build on what's happening with respect to the pulp and paper industry and where are the opportunities. So these are kind of benchmarks that we have seen based on working with multiple pulp and paper companies across various geographies. So here, all these variations that you see, plus or minus standpipe level variation, plus or minus 10% of evaporator level, these are acceptable variations, right? So anything that going beyond this would provide a lot of opportunity for improvement. So and what we have seen is, of course, there is a heat, there is a steam, there is energy kind of savings, and what we also predict that considering integrated pulp and paper mill, we have seen that only in the pulping process, right, there are anywhere between 300 to 500 loops, control loops, and multiple around 2,000 plus data points coming in. And if I look at the entire integrated pulp and paper mill process, we would at least encounter 1,500 plus loops. So that gives us a lot of opportunity. And every loop, as you can see, if I go to the next slide, every loop has anywhere between 4 parameters to 7 parameters. And it is very difficult for the control engineers to actually check every loop, every parameters and take action. It is humanly not possible. And even if the organizations have incorporated APCs or HLC systems, the HLC system inherently, the way they work is they assume that all the variations are well in control, and then they would shift the set points and try to control the process. But in this scenario, we have seen that the operators actually take the control and then they start running the whole plant even after having such expensive equipment and systems in place. So these are section-wise overall scope that we have currently worked on, and you could see that there are business benefits anywhere from 0.5 to 5%. We don't go at 20%, 25% because we are actually working within the limits with respect to whatever systems and the data that we have, and we are providing value. There is lesser chances or no chances where we would come back to you asking for new equipment or changes of a new sensor unless the sensor is not working fine. So one of the key value additions. So I talked about 1,500 plus loops in the pulp and paper industry, right? So how do you know that which are the loops that are working fine and not working fine? So the beauty of our AI tool is once you get all the information of the PID loops as an example, and we configure those loop data into the tool, it immediately gives us the charts on which are the loops that are working fine and which are not, and what are the key reasons, because these are built with some scientific algorithms and models so that they will be able to detect the performance of the PID systems. So you can see over here, these two loops are having tuning issues. So we would ideally dig deeper into those 4 or 7 parameters to look at what we should tune. Is it a proportional or a gain, etc. And to do that, once we get this information, our tool does a lot of analysis, and with that analytics, we come to a conclusion that what would be the key parameter for us to tune. And we also have a simulation module. So this simulation module creates a playground for us do the experiments on the AI platform, and with 99.99% confidence, we go back to the plant teams to make those changes, or we recommend those changes. And this is all possible without shutting down the plant. With a running plant, we are able to execute the recommendations. No, this is the primary slide that we bring to the table when we start looking at the analysis. So we look at all the various processes, right? And then this provides us a heat map on which are the processes which we should target immediately. Like, the blue, it is great and fine. The way it moves into yellow and red and amber, this is where we should start focusing on. So this gives us a visibility into where we should do the prioritization and where we should start digging deeper into more analytics. Some of the charts that we thought to add in. So this gives us a quality variability chart where we are looking at a manual process of the quality versus where we have sensors on both the scales with respect to kappa number as well as the brightness percentage. So here, if I could look at this particular viscous or box chart, right? We are looking at manual data, which there are about 138 data points, very less, in 13 days, collected in 13 days. So here, if I could look at the variation, right? So I'm getting 1% variation plus or minus, in terms of standard deviation, 1 plus and 1 minus. And on the lab analysis on the kappa number, I'm getting about 3%. Whereas if I map it with the real-time data that is coming in from the sensors, so I could see that the brightness variation is more, 1.5%, and the variability when it comes to kappa number is about 5%. This gives us a lot of insight when we start getting real-time information. However, having said that, we also work with legacy plants where there is still this amount of data that is coming in. This is where we kind of map this information with the process data and try to dig deeper into getting more visibility. We also do multivariate analysis. This is a classical principal component analysis when you are actually trying to solve a specific problem with data. So here is a classical example where the customer came to us saying that we have a 30 megawatt turbine and we are not able to produce 30 megawatt. And can you help us detecting what are those key parameters which are actually affecting the performance of the power plant over here? So we went over there, we collected about 84 data points and started using our tool. And once we looked at this principal component analysis on one axis on one component and the other axis on the other component field, you could see that out of 84 components, after doing analysis, we came down to 9 components which were actually behaving in a certain way when we were producing less power and behaving in a certain other way when we were producing more power. So this gave us a field to look at where we should focus on. So for example, if I look at the MP steam, this is an inlet, we can't do anything on that. Okay, now if I look at the drum level and the furnace draft, these are definitely controlled by the PID loops. Now we go back to the PID loops and try to dig deeper into what's happening with respect to the variations. And you can see the business benefit, right? So immediately the customer started to produce 500 units and about 12,000 units a day with respect to the generation. And this analysis can be also utilized to identify multiple challenges. We have seen, we are using this with JK to identify GSM related issues, paper breakage related issues, and more. This particular chart, pretty busy chart, but it on the digester level, right? So it provides you information on the steam utility and as well as mapping it with the white liquor consumption. So you can see that we have this LP steam and MP steam. LP steam is utilized for preheating, and then MP steam for actually cooking in the digester. So there was a certain pattern that we observed that when it comes to the fourth stage, this was a multi-stage digester. Fourth stage, it actually started having a lot of variations. So having this particular chart, we thought we are not able to read it. Now we need to simplify this particular information. So what we did is we converted that information into a simple table. So this gave us a lot of insight on looking at the chart in a very simplistic way, and looking at intra-digester and the inter-digester. We could see, for example, MP Steam, you are looking at 12% variation versus the inter-digester. This is the same digester, but it still has various variations. So this gives us an idea that we should start looking at the MP Steam, and the problem might be possibly in the discharge valve or the inlet valve. So if it is opening fine or not opening fine, so we can start digging deeper into solving that particular problem. Now this is oxygen delignification process, washing and bleaching. This is a classical example where you have uniformity with respect to the variation. So what it means is there might be one particular issue that we may want to look at. So the other element in the analytics that we also bring to the table is not only looking at the data in the time series. Of course, most of the tool will be able to do time series data analysis. We also break it down into the frequency series as well. So once we break it down into frequency series, we could see that there is a mirror image of the variations. Then we get a feeling that there is definitely a single point of error or a challenge or an issue that we need to look at and try to resolve this. So these are some of the use cases that we thought we will share. And Nikita, I will take a pause over here to take any questions that the audience may have.
Sure, Viresh. Thank you so much. It was a pretty interesting session, and you've really given us some very, very insightful points. We do have a couple of questions. The first question is for Mr. Govindraj. So what are the digital transformation initiatives at JK Paper?
It's a broader question. As I see, every process has been reviewed and has been opportunities have been identified. The journey starting with all the processes mapping, and then we have bucketed into marketing related, logistics related, manufacturing related, and so on. So in the business, we have find opportunities in every sphere of our business. If you talk about any particular process, for example, supply chain. So we look at inbound as well as outbound. How do we get the visibility into the process, and therefore having certain meaningful inference in our daily decision making. I hope this answers, though the areas what the digital transformation we are taking in, not limiting us to do one or two particular processes. Value chain.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. Viresh, this question is for you. Can you describe more about how frequency series work instead of time series analysis?
Sure, definitely. So, traditionally, as we know, most of the data analytics platform look at the time series data because time series data is available. But in a typical process industry, the frequency level data, hertz, amps, etc., are very much key for carrying out the analysis. I'll give a certain example. So, for example, we have this boiler, and the boiler is consuming multiple fuel sets, right? So it can be the dark liquor is coming in, and also we are having the alternate fuel and raw materials that are being burned. And right now we are looking at agriculture as an alternate fuel. So when we look at harmonizing both the processes with respect to getting the better firing pattern, as an example. And of course, if there is a coal as well, then utilization of that particular coal in the CPP or captive power plant. So what we try to do over here is when we are pushing the coal, in the CPP element, and also we are looking at also adding the alternate fuel and raw material. So it becomes very imperative for us to look at the data, but seldom the data is not available, number one. So here we look at, we don't get the tonnage information, because if we are looking at the tonnage of coal that has been dispensed versus the alternate fuel that has been dispensed. So here we look at frequency level data. Here we also look at the amperage level data. So we are able to create a derived matrix based on, as an example, if it is 2.5 amperes, then we are pushing 1 ton of alternate fuel. So based on that, we are able to see and harmonize the calorific value so that the burning is done properly. That is one level of doing at it. And the next level of doing at it is the, if I could look at the washing section and oxygen delignification section. This particular analysis on a time series data, it gave us the indication that there is one problem that we need to look at. So looking at the time series data, we were unable to find it. And when we looked at the frequency level data, break it down, then we actually identified that there is a similar variations over here. So by doing that, we looked at identifying the key problem and then trying to resolve that particular problem. I hope it explains. It took a little bit of time.
No problem. We have another question for you, Videsh. Are these digital transformation solutions closed loop systems which will automatically control the plant?
A good question. We could do that, but there are systems that I talked about, like high level controller systems, so something like ABB, Expert Optimizer. Andritz brings to the table called Advanced Process Control. They call it as Andritz APC. So these are the control systems that are actually meant to control the whole process. But where we, although we can also do the controlling element, provided you need to buy the software and install it within your premises so that it can talk to the DCS system. But it is recommended that without making those heavy investments in those HLC systems, you can utilize the AI tool and get adequate recommendations which your controls team or instrumentation team will be able to implement it over there.
All right, moving on to the next question. In predictive maintenance, how can we use modern AI for more analytical approach?
Yeah, so what we do is, there are two ways of looking at it. Number one, we have partnered with very innovative sensor companies, which actually do the fast Fourier transformation, vibration analysis of the rotating equipment. We see that there are huge amount of motors, turbines, etc., rotating equipment in the process industry. So there are sensors and there are proven algorithms that can also do vibration analysis plus fast Fourier transformation, mapping it with the temperature data and acoustics. We'll be able to do some predictions with respect to the failure of the bearings, as an example, in the vibration. The second level of looking at it is if the equipment data is available, and using an IoT platform, we can do the analysis, provided we have the failure data. So at the time it failed and what were the key reasons for that failure, the timestamp, the time series data, we will also be able to do the analytics and predict a failure in advance based on the past learnings, basically.
All right, moving on to the next question. So how the Würth IT system is different from other APC systems of, say, ABB or Valmet? What are the advantages of Würth IT?
Sure. So number one, no capex. So you don't need to buy or invest heavily, like for example, for an APC. what we have seen is HLCs or the APCs of the world. They tend to utilize the information and assume that everything is going fine, and then move the set points. So we actually complement these systems like APC and HLCs by reducing the variations and providing them with the margins. So the differentiator would be, we have this tool which complements these functions of these HLC rather than competing with them. And the biggest advantage is there are some of the not at the paper industry that we have worked, but in cement industry, they had made a decision to buy Expert Optimizer as an example, which is similar to APC. And we recommended that they should try us first, and then buy the HLC system, so that the margins are created for the HLC system to even perform better. So that is the key differential. We just complement the HLC systems.
All right. So the next question is for Mr. Govindraj. So what challenges have you faced while adopting new technologies?
Yeah. We are already experiencing the change, the resistance to change. Whenever we are implementing a new system, new solution, we always see resistance come from the people who are used to certain kind of way of working. When the new technology solution is going to ease their life, sometimes they do feel like they are actually getting away from personalized actions. They're more into the firefighting, getting noticed by the seniors, and that is getting taken away. So and therefore, so one is in terms of the second is coming in the name of training and new technologies. Obviously, the new technologies require the new set of skills, and with the advent of new way of doing the business, also requires the positive mind of the people. Now, currently, if you are having that kind of a challenge, it will always put the system, even with the new technology is available, but we are not able to use to the fullest extent. So in terms of training, I will say, in terms of the people mindset change, one is with respect to the right kind of metrics in terms of any new system, whatever we are bringing in, are we in a position to measure its performance? We always bring system to improve our business processes, reduce losses and things like that. With the monitoring, continuous monitoring of these things, we should be in a position to address the right challenges. So for JK, moving from the legacy system to the state of the art, it's not in the very, very smooth ride. So we do also have the challenges in the old mills. We are addressing through proper training and creating the culture of appreciative culture for better performance and adapting to the needs.
Thank you, Mr. Govindraj.
Thank you, sir. We have quite a few questions. We'll take a couple of them right now. Viresh, this one is for you, I believe. With whom do you work with at the plant level?
Yeah, it's I would break it down into two sections. When it comes to the sales aspects, right? So we work with the head of manufacturing excellence, someone like Mr. Govindraj, and the plant heads and the CEO as an organization. But when it comes to implementation, it's predominantly the process team and the instrumentation team that on the ground we work with when it comes to actually recommendation of the the analytics that we do, implementing the recommendations that's on the ground level. It's in instrumentation and the process team.
All right. Is there a scope for paper companies that are only using recycled papers?
Yes, of course. We are conducting 2 pilots right now, one in Europe and one in Africa. Both are recycled paper plants, and the focus over there is the performance of the paper machine. Yes, of course, there is scope. Maybe our pitch might have been focused more on the integrated paper mill, but yes, of course, there is a lot of scope on the paper machine when it comes to recycled paper plants.
All right. Will you be able to detect faulty sensors?
Yeah, so in the tool, we have something called as noise detection. And once we start configuring the data and once we start running it in the simulation, it is able to seamlessly detect any abnormal readings. And then based on that, physically we try to work with the plant team. There might be some coating on top of it, or it might have some other issues, or sensor might be faulty. So yes, we are able to detect that.
All right, moving on. Is any new system launched in the past 1 or 2 years by which we can use our mobile phones for monitoring predictive schedules and maintenance at paper machines? And if yes, then how practical it is?
Yeah, so as I talked about, there are proven sensors, and with those sensors, they are cloud-based systems, and these are IT independent, right? So they work on a router. So as a simple example where we have implemented, so it takes a range of about 10 to 15 square meters, and we implement a router, this router is actually operating on a SIM, and it collects the data from these various sensors and plus hardware that is installed on the rotating equipment. And there are proven algorithms on the cloud. It processes, it does fast Fourier transformation, it does temperature analysis, and it is able to also detect the failures and then push the information back to the plant team. They can easily access it with any device. These are the ready-made systems. And of course, I also see that there is a follow-up question on this, how many times? Okay, so I see this question as well. So the vibration sensors, we understand that vibration information may not be available. So once we install it, we at least need to aggregate 7 days kind of a data. Then we should be able to do the analytics. But during the implementation, the plant team actually helps us put a control on the upper limits and the lower limits as a base, and then we take over.
All right. One very important question, I believe, for data security. How secure is the data of the plant? If it is captured and analyzed, it should be secured and should not be used by competitors. How do you ensure that?
So if we are doing an offline analysis, then there is a non-disclosure agreement that we sign, and based on the engagement, we put a dedicated team working on that, and it's predominantly what we get is tag level information, and based on that we do analysis and then provide it back to the customer. So it's kind of proprietary to the customer.
All right, all right. How different is your tool from advanced process control?
Yeah, so advanced process controls, I think I answered that as well. So APCs usually consider everything is great and then try to move the set point. But what they need is better margins, which is where we actually provide. Actually, Nikita, I can read the questions as well. Let me take it.
All right.
Yeah. So there is one more question. I think we both can answer this, Mr. Govindraj. Which unit of JK Paper Würth IT system is installed? if suppose we have an APC system already installed, and do we have any scope? I would like to begin with this. So I think it is from Mr. Arun Bhatt. So Mr. Bhatt, no, JK Paper is actually using our cloud system to do the analytics, and we have not actually installed in their premises, number one. Number two is, if you already have an APC system in your register, one of the things that we are working with one of the organizations in Indonesia, what we are doing is we are trying to assess if the APC system is actually working fine. That's creating a base level. If not, then we can help do improvements and then make the APC system work fine. So that would be a business benefit for you. It actually starts with a process audit. So where we collect your information, the plant information, do analytics, and come back to you on how the overall system is working fine, and provide you recommendations on doing the improvements by reducing the variations, which will help the APC system work even better. Yeah. Sure. Any other questions? I think we have answered whatever I can see. I'm not sure if someone is sending questions to you directly.
No, I think we've covered everything.
Sure. All right. So if there are not any other questions.
Sure. Thank you so much, Viresh, and thank you so much, Mr. Govindraj. Thanks to all of our attendees for your time and effort to be here. And if you have any other queries, feel free to reach out to us. Once we're done with the webinar, you will also receive a copy of the presentation, and we'll stay in touch with you.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Also, I believe, Abhinav, you might have taken all the questions. If not, please collect these questions with the names so that we can reach them, separately, and try to address more queries as well. Abhinav or Shruti, Nikita, if you can take those.
Yeah, I'm.
Yes, Viresh, we have taken down the questions and
Sure.
we can reach out to them. So
Sure.
I think we are good to go.
I would
right.
like to take this
Right.
opportunity to thank all the participants. Thank you, Mr. Govindraj, and thanks for your time. Thank you, Nikita. All yours.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to join this.
So that's it for today, everybody. Thank you and stay safe.
Thank you very much.